we are having siblings, two sisters from another part of the world joining on this show, and they have something completely special, completely unique, and I couldn't wait to have them on the show and share this truly special gift that they have nurtured and been blessed with and are sharing with the world. So now it's time for them to share this gift with you. I'm extremely grateful that they've joined us on the show, sitting in a beautiful sunny part of the United States. They were raised in the US to broad-minded parents. They were exposed to all different spiritual paths and learned to meditate as children. And subsequently, something most unexpected and mysterious happened along the way. At the age of around 7 and 9, respectively, they spontaneously started to be able to read, write, and chant and understand Sanskrit. I'm going to say that again. At the age of around 7 and 9, respectively, they were able to read, write, chant, and understand Sanskrit, which, for those of you who aren't aware, is the world's oldest and arguably the most grammatically rich language. At the age of 7 and 9, folks. Subsequently, they've integrated the ancient knowledge of the Vedas into their lives and continue to pass it on to their beautiful children and other generations. So they are passionate about sharing the experience of Sanskrit for people to use, and I think importantly, incorporate into their own lives for their peace and well-being. And they do this through Sanskrit, not only through what they teach, but through their music, their stories, and of course, authentic Vedic chanting. On top of all of this, they are prolific creators and songwriters and have released a staggering 8 albums and have appeared on all sorts of shows in the media, including the National Tonight Show in the US. Right now, their focus is on a project called Healing Mantras, which we'll hear about from them. Please show your love for the lovely Andrea and Sara. Shanti Shanti, sisters. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much for having us on, Prash. We are so excited to be here.
I'm like really excited to have you guys
we love your show. It's very exciting.
When the agency reached out and said, "Hey, Prash, have you heard of these guys?" I thought, "No, Shanti Shanti," and just the name Shanti Shanti. And then, of course, you know, they sent me the press pack, and I was able to look you guys up, and I thought, "No way is this happening." No way. So look,
we're partners
I mean,
in spirituality with you. We love what
yeah,
you're
right.
doing.
And you guys are doing mantras, and we have mantra therapy and urban spirituality here. You know, our brands. So it's been really a real eye opener. I know we've been speaking a little bit off camera, and we've been spending some time getting to know each other a little bit. I'm fascinated to share your journey, of course, with everyone here. But first, tell me, and tell all of our viewers and listeners,
yes,
exactly what the heck are two American-born sisters living out in Reno, Nevada, or in the state of Nevada, doing chanting mantras and hanging out at churches, Catholic churches, chanting mantras, teaching kids. What's going on?
So the way we say it, so as you know, in India, usually the tradition of chanting the Vedas is passed down from father to son, and then it showed up in 2 white girls from Reno. And we spontaneously experienced the love of Sanskrit so intensely, and then we realized we could do it. And we completely freaked our parents out. I am not kidding. They were like, "What is this? This isn't Spanish."
Because they weren't born in, they're of Latino origin, right?
No.
So they believed in exposing us to different religions, all different cultures. And one of those was obviously Hinduism and meditation and transcendental meditation, to be specific.
Our parents were TMers, and we're also practitioners of TM.
Yeah.
Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Yes.
Right.
The venerated.
Right. Yeah. And when we were exposed to it, we loved it. Even at this young of an age, we loved how it sounded. We loved how it made us feel. We would leave so buzzed and just feeling so conscious and aware, joyful and incredible. We wanted to continue on doing it, and we were just able to do it.
within a few days, all of a sudden we could repeat all the things that we had heard the pundits do. And then our parents took us to Berkeley. They had us meet with different professors because they were like, we don't know what's wrong with our kids.
Right.
So they were taking around all of our papers. So what is wrong?
Iowa.
We went to Iowa. They took us to
Mauritius.
Yeah, the whole TM group in Iowa. We had been back east in Pennsylvania, worked with different pundits because our parents were like, seriously, what is this mess that they're doing? You know, they should be coloring rainbows. Why are they writing in Sanskrit?
And they wanted to be supportive, but you know, so we obviously traveled around to go find like-minded people.
And then they got us books and stuff to support our studies. And then this many years later, and our father was a music producer, and he helped us, he taught us music and taught us how to sing and to be a writer and that sort of thing. So that was wonderful. And then, so he kind of helped launch Shanti Shanti at the beginning, and then we've kept it going.
I mean, that's fascinating. Obviously, we want to hear more about this journey that you've been on that's led you here, because I think I'm still, and I think many of our viewers and listeners will be still reeling from the shocking and fascinating revelation that you somehow spontaneously were able to speak and it is often regarded as the most difficult language on the planet because it is the most grammatically complete. And we all know NASA used Sanskrit to base COBOL, Pascal. I mean, that was decades ago. NASA was famous for using Sanskrit to base all their computer languages on. Most computer languages are based on Sanskrit.
Also now finding that Tesla used a whole bunch of Sanskrit in his writings about electricity. All of his notes were in Sanskrit.
And he believed that all of the knowledge that he would ever need for quantum physics were in the Vedas.
In the Vedas, right? Atharva Veda, some of the Vedas which really went into the scientific side. So I mean, this is fascinating. Yeah. This is fascinating stuff. But for everybody's benefit, we got to surprise folks. In fact, folks, we've got two surprises. We, in a moment, are going to have a chance to hear a taste of what Andrea and Sara do together. And at the end, we have another surprise. And I guess we shouldn't tell them what it is, right, ladies? Let's leave that till the end. But they're going to explain what they're going to do and why it's going to be beneficial. This is going to be an experiential episode. I'm super excited. You are not only going to hear, but you're going to actually feel the power of Sanskrit and mantras through this episode very shortly and at the end. So stay tuned for that. And before we do that, let's just quickly get this definition. Mantras. And from my own Sanskrit training, I understand mantra. The word mantra means to free the mind. But yes. Ladies, would you enlighten us a little bit more before you share something very special?
So mantra is, we actually gone over this, it's the repetition of a sound, but we focus, most of our focus is actually on the Vedas, because just listening to them, skip what it means, skip trying to do it too, but just listening to it creates, it causes the cells in the body to vibrate at a very high level.
And every word in the Vedas is a mantra. And they are obviously prayers and the positive good vibrations that elevate the consciousness. So we obviously, with mantras, it's used in meditation, and it's the repetition of a word, but it's not just any word. You want the words to be in Sanskrit, because those are the primordial sounds of creation.
The oldest, want those oldest sounds, right?
Vibrations to be just permeating the body and the mind and the spirit, and raising our consciousness while we do that. So that's why we love mantras, and then we love the Vedas, because it's nothing but mantras.
It's nothing but mantras. And folks, for those of you who are hearing the word Vedas, obviously we are not referring to the guy from Star Wars with the black helmet, Darth Vader. It's got nothing to do with the Vedas. We are talking about Vedas, Vedas, the Vedas. The word Vid means knowledge, Vidya, right? And there are 4, ladies, would you please?
4 books. And they contain all the knowledge of mathematics, medicine, the stars, architecture, the planning of cities, and then also like the celestial relationship between humans and the divine. And the piece that we'd like to chant for you, are you ready for us to do a piece, or do you want us to wait?
No, I think we should just go right in, please, please.
This piece is neat. It's called, it's actually from the Atharva Veda, which is the newest of all the Vedas, which still makes it really, really old.
Because the Rig Veda itself, even just by common dating, it's around 9,000, 8.5 to 9,000 in written form. That doesn't even speak about the spoken form of the Vedas, which predates what? Much older than that.
Yes. And this is the Atharva Veda. So you're talking what 3,000 BC? So it's really, really old. And this is a neat piece. I love this piece because it's called the Suktam of Life. And it asks God to ensure that we have a long life, and we have good health, and we have mental stability, and we heal quickly, and that there is less pain and no comfort, and that it supports our happiness, and that we may grow with the lifespan that we are given. And then at the very end it says, and may we have a quick and painless death, quick and painless exit. So this is a prayer everybody needs. Everybody needs good health, and we all want to be fulfilled, and we all want to be happy. And so you'll hear this is a lot different than the regular bhajans where it's easy. This is it's metered. It's the perfect, it has to be pronounced the same way. It is done the exact same way
for thousands of
years. This is, you don't get to do your own version. We add harmonies, but that's about it. The main line never changes. We do it exactly the same.
And that's the beauty of the Sanskrit language, of course, folks. For those of you who weren't aware, its preservation is it's based on its own referential integrity, its own linguistic integrity. There are meters, there are phraseologies, there are words that are concatenated together in certain ways, which can only be concatenated in certain ways. Certain juxtapositions of words and syllables are done in exact and very mathematical ways, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. Very precise, very mathematical. So do you have a good level on us? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. The Ayu Suktam. Om Yo Brahmana Ujjahara Pranay Shiraha Kritivasa Apinaki Ishano Deva Sana Ayunda Dhatu Tasmai Juhomi Havishagritena Vibhrajamana Sarirasya Madhyadrochamano Karmaruchirya Agat Samatyu Pashana Panudya Gorani Hayasheno Vitamatu Deva Brahma Jyoti Brahma Padnishu Garbham Yamadadar Gururupam Jayantam Suvarnaram Bagraha Margam Marcham Tamayushe Vardhayam Mogatenam Shriyam Lakshmi Mabalam Amikam Gam Shashtim Chayam Indrasene Edyadahu Tam Vidyam Brahma Yonigam Sarupani Hayushe Tarpayam Mogatenam Dakshayanya Sarvayonyaha Sayonya Sahasrasho Vishwarupa Virupa Sasunava Sapatayaha Sayujya Ayusheno Vitamidam Jushantam Divyagana Bahurupa Purana Ayushidona Ramadnanju Viran Tebyo Juhomi Bahuda Kritena Mana Prajanam Ririsham Mota Viran Eka Purasad Ya idam babhuva yakto babhuva bhuvanasya gopa yamapyeti bhuvanagam sa ambaraye sano havyagratami hayusha etyu devaho vasum rudrana dityan marutota sadhyan pribhun yakshan Gandharvagam Sha Pitragam Sha Vishwan Ragam Sarvagam Shagira Sota Sarvan Kritagam Hutwa Swayushya Mahayama Shashwat Vishnu Twando Andama Sharmaya Chasanta Pratendara Madushtutam Utsam Durate Akshitam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Namaste. Sometimes silence is the best response for something so magnificent. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
Your voice is very calming.
Yes.
I like listening to you.
Thank you so much. We should, we have some guided meditations underway. So perhaps we'll have to collaborate and have you join us on that.
We would
journey.
love to.
We know you have
Help
a
you out
special
in
journey.
any way.
We know you have a wonderful journey of your own and something to share. So, folks, I hope that was, despite all the technical little glitches and crackles and snapples that we have with technology, I hope that you felt as much as heard the power of those mantras. And if we're fortunate, we would have you both join us again a little later on. I understand we're going to hear something more. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. We could do another piece right now. Do you want us to do Asato Masadgamaya?
I think that would be lovely.
So lighten it up a little bit, because that piece is so intense, because it's so precise. And if we could it's fun also to incorporate Sanskrit in a more singing way, so that it's a little less intense.
Yes. I'm listening for my audience here. Folks, do you have any objections? The answer is no. Go for it.
Cool. This piece, are we at the right volume, Prash?
We are. Yeah, this volume sounds good. Did you want to give us a little bit of an introduction and explanation, Andrea?
Of course, yes. So this piece is wonderful. It says it's a universal prayer. It applies to everybody who is into spirituality, but lead us from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality.
I love the universality of those words. It transcends religion, and it transcends races and cultures. It speaks to all.
And just to give you a good example, this piece was used, I think it was at the end of the second Matrix. At the very end, there's this choir and they're all singing, and they're singing this piece in Sanskrit. Obviously, wow. I don't know if you heard, but it was originally going to be the language of computers instead of the zeros and ones. It was going to be Sanskrit because it is the perfect language. So they were going to use it, and then I think it's very fitting for the Matrix, given the fact that it's this whole virtual reality.
It's all about Maya.
Right. At the very end, they put this piece in. I thought that was so cool when I heard that.
Sarah, thank you.
Yeah.
Something fresh.
Yeah.
So we'll sing it, and then we'll sing the English too. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, Sarah. Yeah. You're good now. If you keep that volume level there, right, that you are, that's awesome.
Okay.
You're good.
I will talk very loud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Asatoma Sangamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Asatoma Sangamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Asatoma Sangamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Asatoma Sangamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, lead us from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Lead us from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Asatoma Sangamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmamritam Gamaya Asatoma Sangamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmamritam Gamaya Asatoma Sangamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmamritam.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you so much. May we etch those immortal sounds, those sacred syllables, and the words that have no shape, no time, transcend all that exists. And may those words etch themselves in our heart, in our spirit, so that we can all, day by day, week by week, month by month, start to immerse ourselves in our true transcendental nature. That was fascinating, powerful. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you for having us, seriously.
Folks, we have to hear more. So let's get to know a little bit more about Shanti Shanti. We've heard them give us Shanti. By the way, folks, the word Shanti means, of course,
Peace.
peace. So, folks, contrary to popular belief, the word Shanti wasn't created by a bunch of hippies sitting around in San Francisco in the 1970s. The word has timeless relevance. It has existed since time immemorial. And Shanti, therefore, transcends any race or religion and is not, as many people incorrectly believe, ascribed to the Hindu religion, which, by the way, the word Hindu is in itself a foreign description of people living in that part of the world at the time. So really, it should be regarded as a Vedic word, referring to the oldest body of knowledge on the planet, the Vedas. And the word
Also,
Shanti
the
means
word
peace.
Shanti eventually gave rise to the word shalom, which is in Hebrew, or what is the equivalent of the Islam version of Salem?
Salem.
Yeah.
Salam.
So this salam. So those words originally came from the Sanskrit word Shanti, and it doesn't mean just like, hey, peace, man.
Right.
It
Not
means
the hippie piece.
it's a deeper peace.
Right.
A profound peace.
Penetrating the soul.
I kind of find it's that kind of peace. I feel honored because my full name is Prashant. I call myself, everybody calls me Prash, but Prashant. And of course, Prashant comes from the Bhagavad Gita. Prashantatma, Brahma Bhuta Prashantatma.
Right.
So Prashant means always peaceful. It is questionable whether I'm always peaceful, but I strive
We're not always peaceful.
I strive to be.
We just try. Yeah, we all try to be peaceful, and we do our best, and we get credit for doing our best.
We absolutely get credit.
Life has a way of revving you up.
Yes, sometimes, and we're going to be revved up at the end. So, folks, we have another surprise at the end of this beautiful episode. But right now, here and now, we want to go into a little bit of your history here. So, rewind the clock for us, both of you, would you? And take us through some significant points in your life, because there must have been a journey that you went on. Fine, you had this incredible revelation that you're able to speak this language. What did it do for you? How did it impact your life and your growing up?
I would say that the Vedic lifestyle was extremely important to our family, and our parents. We lived an Ayurvedic lifestyle. Meditation was a very important part of us growing up. But then when we discovered Sanskrit, it was neat because no matter what was going on at school or anything, it's like we had this ability to instantaneously create our own peace for ourselves. So it didn't matter if the popular girl was being mean or if you had a test.
We were definitely nerds in school. So
Yes.
we were picked on quite frequently.
Oh, yes. We were it wasn't until like high school when we found the other nerds, orchestra people, that then it was better.
Yeah.
Then we could talk about Sanskrit and
Music.
orchestra.
And then in college, it was the archaeologist group. So
Then other nerds.
yeah.
So
More
it was more. So, but Sanskrit was it was like a secret tool, and I didn't matter what was going on. That was profound.
And the neat thing was what we love so much about it is irrelevant what your spiritual path is. Sanskrit supports it. It is a root language. It enhances it. Everything that it speaks of is obviously it was written thousands of years ago, but it is such positive. It is
Universal.
all universal, all encompassing. It encompasses all of us. That's why we loved it so much. Once we started delving into what was this language, what was it truly about, we loved that it enhanced our spiritual paths, and it took us to a whole new level. Obviously, practicing Catholics and
but at that time, our parents took us to everything. They took us
Yep.
to pujas, and they took us to meet Buddhist lamas, and we went to a Jewish temple.
Yep.
Our parents took us to everything.
and we
So you had
loved finding all the correlations with all of those religions they all walked the same path of this beautiful spirituality with this language, and you could trace it all back. We can trace back, Hebrew, Latin, Greek,
German.
I love it.
But yeah, the thing is,
Please.
you can trace all languages back to English. So I mean, I'm not kidding. The word shampoo comes from Sanskrit. The word awesome comes from Sanskrit.
the word pundit.
The word
Sanskrit.
navigate, right? Navigaha became
Yes.
navigate.
Yes, you're right. If you were to stay, to stand, to be still, comes originally from the Sanskrit word sta,
Pada, meaning feet.
feet.
Podiatrist.
As if you go to the podiatrist, or dentist, danta, meaning teeth.
Vomit,
Right.
Sanskrit word.
Mana, right? Mana became
Mana.
mind.
Oh, yes,
And let's not forget guru, right?
yes.
Yeah.
How Jupiter was the Sanskrit name for Jupiter is guru. Now, guru
Yes.
also, aside from meaning a spiritual teacher,
Leader.
guru also means heavy, right? So
Yes.
how the heck did somebody in those books, because guru comes from the word guru is in the what is it, the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5,000 years old. How the hell did somebody all those thousands of years ago know that the largest planet in this solar system is Jupiter, and they called it guru?
Because in the Vedas, they have all the knowledge of all the astronomy. Yeah. And then we have Oprah, who brought the word guru like right back front and center to pop culture.
Right.
So,
We've got and obviously we're using it in the word mantra is used in parlance, obviously now it's part of our vocabulary.
yes. But no, Sanskrit's everywhere now, and when you start pointing it out to people, but it is a root language, and it's ultimately a language, and the books that it comes from and that it produced are universal in their teachings. People say, oh, I don't, if you say you don't like the Vedas, then you don't like math or science or architecture or medicine. So it's the foundation of all those things. But on to go back to your original question though, I think when we saw all the different spiritual paths, and when we sat in those yagyas and pujas, and when we learned to meditate, those were huge turning points for us. It just made me realize that, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. This is very, very temporary. And the bigger picture and the bigger focus is really what matters. And Sanskrit and meditation is a way to access that.
Okay. And so you see, so for you, it's not just something archaic that you lean on when you need to, but for you, it's a living, breathing reality that helps you to reconnect to the source of everything.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because it is. And we're all composed of sounds. There's a cool article out that says the hippies were right. It's all vibes, man. And it's true. We're all composed of these vibrating cells, and Sanskrit has a really neat way of making those vibrations coherent. And when you make your pure, and you affect your vibrations in your body and then in the entire environment, and you get a lot of hippies chanting, and you can affect, I think, the whole world, maybe.
This is why they've done some of those studies where they'll have a large group of people meditate, and then crime rates suddenly drop like a huge percentage. And that is because you're raising the consciousness. Whether people are, it doesn't matter whether they're doing it anywhere even near you. I think Andrea, obviously in her neighborhood and then in her town, in our town, we are raising this consciousness. And then you know, we want to expose this to as many people as possible so that they can also join in and be doing this as well. Because the way to fight the negativity in the world is not to get angry and take a political stance. It is to rise above it and be something greater and bigger and more positive and vibrating at a much more beautiful level. And then that will stop the horrible things in the world more so than fighting against it. I mean,
or being angry. Yeah, you can be political, but being angry and ugly and adding to the ugliness. Right. No, the thing is raise the consciousness level, raise the vibration level. But I'll tell you something, Anna, so you can do that worldwide, but then even in our own families, I mean, when the kids are noisy and screaming and everyone's stress levels and everyone's shouting, we put on actually our own CDs and it just calms the kids down.
and it works because I understand, obviously you have two girls, right?
I have two boys.
You have two boys, and Sara, you have two girls. Yes. And they're all kind of exposed to, what has it done for them? I mean, can you say with some degree of convincingness that it's helped them in some way, being exposed to Sanskrit?
They love it. Calms, it brings our house to a huge sense of peace. And it even us, we get, you know, we stray away from it. We get stressed, we get bogged down with life and work and everything else. But we always try to remind each other and keep bringing ourselves back to it. And then when we do that, obviously we want it throughout our whole household. So everybody, even our littlest ones, which are two, I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and she has a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And they, Shanti, Shanti, and they get so excited. And then I turn it on in the car, and all the yapping and arguing just goes down. It all stops. And also, if you knowing, I think having a knowledge of Ayurveda helps. If you have really children that have high vata, have a high air element, and are nervous, it helps keep the peace in the family. And we really, our blog is actually called Shanti Mamas, where all we do is talk about Ayurveda. And the way
we'll make sure we include a link to that in the show references, obviously, because I think a lot of listeners here, those of you who are with children, and I know quite a few of our audience are, I think that'll be just beautiful for them to be able to access and do.
Well, and that's what we want. We want this approachable to everyone. This should be a mass society thing of where everybody taps into this on a daily basis in some form. You know, chanting it and as much as they can,
or listening to it, or meditating.
Mantras. Yep,
meditating, listening to it, listening to podcasts like yours.
Yes, all of this contributes towards the same.
All of it contributes towards it.
Yes.
So you've given us a little bit of an insight of that kind of journey. Tell us about perhaps a time of great challenge, a time which acted as a catalyst to a new level of realization, something that's helped you to see things and reframe, you know, what you do, how you show up in the world.
Well, I'll tell you, it's kind of the same story every time, is that you get so busy, and this happens. So we were obviously in school, you know, and you get busy with that, and you blow off your meditations. But then in our 20s, we were on tour with our father. We toured all over the world. And you're living in airports, and you're living and you're driving everywhere.
So you were touring. You started doing albums from your 20s?
No, starting at 16. Yeah.
You started doing albums from 16. Wow.
So we were touring, and you get and then you get separated. You're like, what is wrong? I don't feel peaceful. I'm agitated. And then I will say this even now, it's the same thing. You get pulled away, and you get in the chaos, and you know, we got the power bill due, and the kitchen is messy, and you know, everything is the same. So, and when that happens, the absolute best thing to do is to stop, because that's still going to be there, and to get yourself completely in alignment. When you get yourself calm, the world gets calm. And using the Sanskrit, like, and we're currently working on a piece. It's not available to show, but it's the Kena Upanishad. And it's neat because right now we're working on it. And the more I work on it, I just get so peaceful. I'm like, whoo, I am fine. You bring that power bill. That's good. That's fine. I've got it. The stress doesn't happen. And so it doesn't matter in a different age. No, it doesn't matter what age we've been. Stuff happens and pulls us away.
Also the impermanence of things. I mean, obviously we all start losing people in life, and Andrea and I, we've experienced that a number of times. And when you do, you really, really get knocked down, and you suffer, and you start to lose yourself and question everything. But then it also, through death and loss, reminds you of the impermanence of life. And our true goals are to sit and rise above all this. This is why we are here. It is to become highly conscious beings, so that we can,
transcend this, because this
and
is
be the
not
best.
permanent. You're here. This is a
Right.
breath of God. You're here for a
just a
moment,
moment.
and then you're out of here. So, it's good to prepare for the bigger picture, not just, the little tiny mundane things in life that make you,
That pull you down, but that's not what life is.
I
No.
remember reading one of my favorite historical authors. It's Ralph Waldo Emerson, obviously
okay.
great
A
American philosopher
transcendentalist.
and a transcendentalist. And I remember he wrote a poem called Brahma, all about Lord Brahma from the Vedas. And a lot of newspaper journalists at the time were kind of confused. What is this Brahma thing going on? And he kind of laughed and he said to them, just tell him it's all about Abraham. And it's just Abraham. Just
Well, it is actually
Brahma,
the root
Abraham.
word of Brahma. Abraham is Brahma.
Brahma.
So they're related. That it's Brahma, and then there's Brahma, which is Abraham.
So do you believe that some, like they have, like we hear about the Dead Sea Scrolls, we hear about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, we hear about these very old and seemingly archaic literatures, much of which have been fragmented and distorted or not even available anymore.
Right.
Do you feel that that same revelatory power exists in the literature that you've been exposed to, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Sanskrit? Is there something that you've come to know that is a revelationness to mankind here? Because
absolutely, and I think that those, if you were to really trace like the Nag Hammadi scriptures and the Dead Sea Scrolls, look at where those came from, trace them back further, go further, and you're going to find a lot of it's rooted in the Vedas.
So it goes.
It has the knowledge of all life and existence. Honestly, if you truly study the Vedas throughout your entire life, it's definitely a path to enlightenment. I mean, that's the point of it.
Even studying Sanskrit by itself is a method to enlightenment.
So for both of you, I mean, how do you find a way to inject it into your day-to-day routine? Because you're busy mamas, you also bring in, you have to work, you have other responsibilities. Of course, you have your music, but how do you bring some of that in? And how would you envisage and foresee people tuned into this episode here to see how they could start to benefit from these mantras?
Well, one thing I'd say is make sure you start every day with meditation or prayer or both. And also, like, one of my favorite things is when you get in the car and you shut the door, instead of immediately, turning on the radio, just stop for just a second. Not while you're driving, before you start driving. Before you start, take a deep breath and center yourself. Don't just go from activity to activity to activity. Pause. 10 seconds never made anybody late. Stop for 10 seconds.
Right.
Take a deep breath. As far as the mantras go, our new project is why we did it, is to healing mantras. That's why we did it, is for everybody.
So let's break that down, actually. So a big topic right now is in certainly in the workplace, both in corporate America and, for that matter, in most corporate entities around the world, is mental health.
Yes.
And then they're bringing in this whole thing about mindfulness and meditation as countermeasures to poor mental health, flagging mental health. We hear about burnout,
Yes,
and obviously depression. We've had a lot of press recently about people taking their own lives, sadly. So what can mantras do to aid one's mental health and emotional well-being?
So there are certain mantras that are healing mantras. There are certain mantras that vibrate in the body, and they're very, very powerful. And when you and we constructed a course and a meditation, and you can chant with it, or you can just let it bathe over you, and it vibrates all the cells in your body. You can feel it. Just as a joke, my studio's across from my bedroom, and when I was putting it together and mixing it, my husband says, please mix that with your headphones on. I said, why? He says, because you're making me high. So because they vibrate so high. These are not regular mantras. The ones we have done a huge amount of research and studied. You want to show the book? Huge amount of research on the way that mantras affect the body. If you see, let's see, we
Healing
put all
mantras.
Yeah, we researched all these different mantras. We researched these different authors, all these different scientific studies as to what they do.
And there's a lot of studies, obviously, that talk about the cognitive, what it does to one's ability to retain information. So it improves your cognitive abilities, it decreases depression, it reduces anxiety, it creates this overall sense of calmness,
it drops your heart
clarity, it drops your heart rate. And this is something that everybody can do. So we don't, obviously, we've been trained in this for many, many years, but we wanted to make this presentable to the masses so everyone could participate in this with us.
And in our class, in our course, aside from the fact that we'd show you all the scientific research so you know why you're learning these mantras, it's 13 mantras. And in the 13 mantras, we teach you very slowly, and then it picks up speed and gets faster. And so it's interesting. So it's not just boring.
And we want you to not only listen to it, but we want you want to start chanting it too. Because the more people that are out there raising the vibrations, it has obviously not just an effect on them and in their household and within them, it has an effect on everyone.
It also affects plants. I mean, you put a plant near you and give it a few months, watch it just spring up. People always say, how come your garden does so well? I sit out there and I chant Sanskrit and I sing hymns to the garden, and they love sound. Well, if plants love sound, so do the cells in your body. And
now obviously sound therapy is being used for everything to combat diseases and so many different things, because they're finding that if you change the vibratory frequency of the cells, they stop warping into ugly things and they become the beautiful, clear, pure things that they were intended to be.
Actually,
and that the body can heal itself to be.
In our book, I tell you this, in our book, we actually even show you pictures. The book is just loaded with tons of pretty pictures and studies. I'm sorry, but it is. But I have to show you this. Look at this. Shows you, is that at the beginning? So Dr. Emoto, which is one of our...
Emiro Masuko and Dr. Emoto from Japan, right? Tokyo University's work.
We have a few of his pictures of what it looked like before.
His groundbreaking book, The Miracle of Consciousness on Water, New York Times bestseller.
Yes, right. But he also did, and he talks about, they made these, they take a cell of water and they'd say something ugly to it, and it would turn into this ugly, contorted thing. And then he showed what happens if you sing to it or you pray or you chant, and it turns into this beautiful crystal. And you want to do that with all the.
And they replicated that. I mean, I was a skeptic, but then when the further I dug into that research, they replicated it in 3 or 4 major cities around the world. They did it again and again. So they actually put effort to verify that there was some substance behind what this was.
And you can feel it in your body.
And then how much of our body is made up of water ourselves? So how does that affect us?
60%. At least 60% of our body is made of water.
Right? That's, so for anybody who's thinking that mantras are only for sort of feeling peaceful, actually they have a physiological effect as much as they do a mental and a psychological effect.
Yeah. Right. So the thing is, and we can't be we teach a lot of Sanskrit workshops. We teach a lot of different classes, and we perform, but we can't reach everybody. So we created the course so that anybody can have it, and they can have it at their own pace and at their own speed. And so that was why we did that.
And it's approachable by everyone, because they are the mantras, they're bija mantras. So they're seed mantras. Yes, very good. Yeah. So they're obviously the most, you really do know your stuff.
Mantra therapy, baby.
Right. They're the most basic and primordial of sounds, but they're also the most approachable too. So they're extremely powerful. Just because they're small and simple doesn't mean that they don't have a huge effect on oneself. So,
and this way we don't have to go anywhere. People could just have it at their own house. And when they get the course, they also they have an audio track they can play in their car too, which is what I do with my kids.
I want to actually touch on that. Getting a tiny bit technical for the benefit of our audiences. There are 2 Sanskrit terms. Again, extremely ancient terms, which are very relevant to the present day. Right, Shravanam and Kirtanam, right? These 2 terms, right? What is Shravanam, to hear, and Kirtanam, to recite or to chant. So are these mantras that you're sharing through this latest project of yours, are they Are they beneficial if you can't necessarily chant them or you're not sure how to, but just even to hear? So what is the benefit of even just being exposed to mantras, even though you don't understand them, I guess is my question. For people who are of a different culture or background, they don't even know what they mean. Is there benefit still?
Actually, it doesn't matter. Even knowing what they mean can be a distraction for the mind.
For the mind, because then it's just focusing on it. You don't need to focus on it. Everything obviously in Sanskrit is only the most positive, pure vibrations that, you know, of creation. So everything is a very strong, beautiful prayer. And that beyond that, obviously, you need to just relax. Experience it.
Let it wash over you. Don't worry about, you know, don't get your mind out of the way.
Because the mind always wants to, what am I hearing? What's that?
What am I hearing? What does this mean? How does this make?
It's going to get out of you. Get out of the way.
The point is to get the mind out of the way. You want the thoughts to quiet down.
Yeah. You want the thoughts to be quiet. And it doesn't matter. Don't, you know, it's not actually, sometimes it's good not to chant. Just let it wash over you. Let it just happen to you. And let your body and your ears and your brain and your mind
have its own experience.
Immerse into it, right?
Yes. And all the healing stuff that we've been sharing recently, which I'm so proud of. I'm sorry, my sister's like, all you ever talk about is healing mantras. It's because I'm so happy with it, and I'm so.
It's a gift. It's your gift. It's the creation that you're both giving to the world. It's your contribution.
Yes.
To bring that ancient science to people's ear holes.
Yes.
So that it can penetrate.
They can play in their environment.
But not only ear holes, right? Obviously, you know, we hear about people being exposed. People who are deaf, they're still getting the benefit of the mantras, because the mantra, it's the vibrator, it's the vibrations. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but it's the vibration of the mantras that penetrate the cells. Cells can listen, right? Yes. Bruce Lipton talks about it a lot. Biology of belief. There's a lot of other people, quantum physicists are getting on the bandwagon. You know, some may regard them as skeptics, but the truth remains that, you know, we know that a lot of children, for example, studies show that mothers who recite prayers or Sanskrit or play classical music to their child whilst the child is in the womb. I mean, you can tell us about that.
Oh, absolutely.
It has a powerful...
It does. It has a very powerful, and then even as babies, they respond to it immediately. They know.
So even if they can't hear it per se, they're physiologically absorbing that vibration.
They're feeling it. Yes.
They're feeling it. Okay. So the power is there regardless. That is the point here.
Absolutely.
That, you know,
absolutely. So
do you want us to do you want to pause it and then we could get the next set up, or tell us what you want?
Well, we definitely want to hear you lead us out with something real special. But I did want to ask you, what do you have in store for 2020? So you've got the Healing Mantra Project coming.
The Healing Mantra Project is just released. And that's neat because in the project, you also get a copy of our new album. So once you've kind of bathed in the mantras, if you want to listen to something,
the new album is something
beautiful.
Special, right? And something beautiful as well.
Yes, it's
literally called something beautiful.
It's actually based on a quote from Mother Teresa, and she's looking at all this death and decay and unhappiness in Calcutta, and she says, "Dear Lord, show me something beautiful." And so we kind of
wrote a song.
We wrote a whole song based on it.
Most of our songs are based on saints.
They say it
all the religions.
Yeah, they say it so well. I mean, you can't really say it better than them. So a lot of times they inspire all of our music.
You know,
and we're just excited.
What I feel your excitement, and I'm obviously reflecting it right back at you. And it was one of my inspirations behind the Mantra Therapy Project that started, 2010, and it's been going on in the UK and in Europe. We have yet to hit the US in person, although we are blessed to have an audience and a following in the US and Australia and places where people are listening, and those mantras are getting out. What fascinates me is, and what really inspires me is that there is so much content being created at the moment in the musical space, for example, that is pulling at each and every one of us back into our lower chakras. And for those of you who are not familiar with that phraseology, what I mean is the music is very much materialistic in its content, and its and the subject matter is either lecherous or has some sort
vulgar,
of sexual connotation or a violent type tonation. It's very self-centered, and in a world where music is becoming extremely self-centered and it's a me thing, and it's fanning our egos.
Right.
How important is it, ladies, to have these sorts of songs being written to help?
And I'll tell you, we
have so many fans that they literally are saying exactly what you are saying. They say, we put in your music and we feel so good after. Like, they'll shut themselves. We get letters all the time and emails saying that they go put themselves in their room when they're having a bad day and they play our CD because they feel so much better after listening to it. It's because every single, even whether it's in English or in Sanskrit, every single one of our songs are extremely uplifting, extremely positive, and feel good music. So
right now, you're right. Everything is very low. It's very basic.
It's very low. It's very,
and you don't feel good after listening to it. You can tell the effect that it has because of how do you feel when you're listening to it. It's enhancing, as you said, those lower chakras, which you don't really want to do. Those are the bases. You said they're the base root chakras about money and,
survival and sex and
right.
And recreation. And by the way, it doesn't mean that those lower chakras are bad, but it's just feeding and creating an imbalance in those lower chakras. It's encouraging a culture. It's encouraging a me civilization.
Right, yes. Very ego-based.
It's all about me, but it's not my fault, right? It's all about me, but it ain't my fault. I blame everybody else, but it ain't about me.
Yeah.
I'm a victim over here. All of you guys are causing trouble to me.
Mentality.
And this is becoming a whole thing, right? And then, victim mentality. And then on top of all of that, what hits me is, God, I can't stop talking about this point. I mean, it's urban spirituality, so I'm going to damn well say it. Why the heck do we accept the importance of going on a diet to clean up our food, to clean up our health? Many of us realize we may or may not do it, but we all accept biologically, physiologically, medically speaking, the importance of going on diets, the importance of fasting. Intermittent fasting is all the rage. We consciously make efforts to diet or to fast or to change what we consume to better our health. And yet we have no conception, most of us, of going on a diet or a fast when it comes to the sounds that are penetrating our ears, to clean up the music that we listen to. Or even if we're not listening to necessarily quote unquote bad music, we don't actually consciously choose to put this kind of music into our ears. Don't you find that?
Oh no, you are what you eat and you are what you listen to.
Oh man, she said it right. I just said it the long way. I'm sorry, I'm Indian. I just love talking inside of my own voice.
I love the way you're so British. You have the way you say it. I love it. I love it.
But what you just said right there, we are what we eat, we are what we listen to. So given that we are what we listen to, would you kindly do the honors?
Yes. So what we can chant now is the healing mantras we were just talking about. This is not the slow version, obviously. This is the faster version, just to let you hear how cool these mantras are. I just think they're neat. And so we'll kind of do a little impromptu. This is what's it called? Oh, the unplugged version. This is the unplugged version of, without all the mystical sounds to it. These are just the 13 healing mantras.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Shanti Shanti presenting us the 13 healing mantras and something special and very beautiful from the latest
something
album.
Beautiful. Can we start it again? Did you forget your chord?
Is that okay? Can we start it again?
Yeah, of course.
I think I'm
We're live. Keep rolling. Do it as you wish. It's from your heart.
Okay. You want to? Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
So beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
beautiful.
Thank you. We play instruments because we have to. We sing because we love to. So we produce because we love to.
Love that. I noticed you had some Bij mantras in there, Reem and Kleem.
Yes, they're all
Shreem.
bija. Yes.
All bija. It's very powerful mantras, even just for those who don't understand, as you said earlier, just to hear, just to let the healing be absorbed through this medium that we have here.
Yes.
So
You want us to do something beautiful?
I think we should end our beautiful time with something from your new album. Otherwise we could be really going on a super extended episode, but I think we should have you back.
We'd love to come back.
We should wrap some more.
We're not twins, by the way. We don't know why we do that. We're not twins.
But you just, normally, I would say to people, one at a time, folks. But with you two, you can speak at the same time. It's fine. It's great. So something beautiful. You want to just give us a little context on that one?
Yes. So
you mentioned Mother Teresa, and
yes, it's from
we wrote the song based on that.
Yes, and our album actually is neat. The new album that came out, we did something a little different. It's all user-friendly Sanskrit, so you could chant along with us. And then we have a lot of English songs, and they're all positive and all spiritual, all kid-friendly. Your children can be in the car, and you don't have to say, "Oh, that's not a bad word." There's no bad words in it, obviously.
Clean lyrics.
Yeah, beautiful, clean imagery, clean lyrics, happy feelings, everything. And we're just really excited about this album. It was, and then after the album, we came out with healing mantras. Yeah.
So I got one for you.
Yes.
Not only are they environmentally friendly, oh, you're gonna love this one.
Okay.
But they're environmentally friendly.
They're
environmentally friendly. Yeah, you can keep that one, girls. I just need a place to stay in Reno, Nevada.
Oh, don't
environmentally
worry.
friendly.
She's got a